Welcome to Sports, Clicks, and Politics with your hosts, Ben Hussong and me, Shawn Hannon. Welcome to episode 42 of Sports, Clicks, and Politics. Sorry for the 5-minute delay here. Mr. Hussong, welcome to the building.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Always.
That was on me. The delay was my fault today. It wasn't Shawn's. It was me.
No, I mean,
Sorry.
What's 5 minutes? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, they say.
You're all welcome then.
How was your weekend? Anything exciting?
It was good. A lot of work this weekend on the ice cream parlor.
We haven't really talked about that here. So do you want to announce that you're going to be an ice cream entrepreneur, empire king of all creams?
So in reality, my wife is going to be a ice cream entrepreneur, queen of all things. We decided to open up this business. I'm going to stick with running my current businesses. And she is leaving her corporate job and is going to go run an ice cream parlor full time. And we're going all in. So my involvement is very heavy right now of getting the space ready and building it up and getting them stuff in the machines and all that, which, by the way, soft serve ice cream machines are insanely expensive. In case you were ever thinking about picking one up for the house, I would highly recommend buying a car instead. But it's been a lot of fun. Our kids are very excited. Friends are very excited. We've actually gone out and found 15 employees. I say we like I had anything to do with that whatsoever. I didn't do anything. But I was there when they were trained, and we're trying to get it up and running. And the goal is to be at least ready to open by the weekend this coming week. But there's a lot of things that have to fall into place for that. So still the goal, still working around the clock to get it ready. Very excited about it. I'm very happy for my wife that she's taken the plunge. I think there's a track record for the most part of somebody like me who does decide to go off on my own and open a business. I've talked to you guys for an hour a week. I have no business owning a business. I'm an idiot. There's no reason for me to be doing it. And it's the people that really should be that never want to take the risk on and be like, no, that's too dangerous. So I'm thrilled. I'm happy for her. It's going to be called Charlie's Ice Cream out in Camillus. It's going to have a drive-through window out on Casson Road behind Cam's Pizzeria. So if you're in the area and you want some really good ice cream and some friendly service, come on by.
Yeah, so we're all fingers crossed for this weekend, but hopefully here in the next week or so-ish.
Yeah, it turns out there's a lot of inspections that need to be done when you're trying
welcome to New York, my friend.
Oh, my goodness. I have to I had to get a grease trap put in. Listen, it's been crazy.
I know all about that.
Yeah.
And I know about, $2,000 blenders were part of my life at one point, so yeah that's crazy.
No, they're still there. A brand new soft serve ice cream machine is in excess of $30,000. You can't have just one. Obviously.
A lot of cones have to be sold to make up for that.
Yeah, we got to get.
Did you do the math?
Not yet.
Okay, good.
I'm a little too afraid to do the math at this point. But right now, it's more or less hey, look, let's just get it in, get it up, get it open.
Well, it sounds like we're going to do a live remote at Charlie's, it sounds like.
I love it.
All right.
I'll check with the boss because right now the corporation is formed. She is the president. I am the vice president. She is Mario. I am Luigi. So I get a voice, but it's ultimately her show.
It's 1.5 voices to one voice.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's 2.5.
Sometimes
you lose.
Sometimes, every now and then, I get it, but it's we discuss things, and thankfully, my wife and I actually do have a pretty good relationship.
Well,
so
that's good.
More often than not, we're able to come to an agreement without either of us trying to drop a veto card on the other.
Well, I hope that Charlie's is the next empire of ice cream, and right here is the birth of it. So good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
And the missus, yes. All right, so let's talk another about hometown stuff here. A little exciting town. I know you came from Buffalo, but you clearly have ties to Syracuse. Would you agree with me that Syracuse, the city of Syracuse, is a Syracuse University basketball city?
I would agree.
It's a Syracuse basketball town. I mean, it is I don't know if it's the complete lifeblood of the city, but it's kind of what, even if you're not really a sports fan or a basketball fan, if they're doing good, everybody's happy, and we're at a point where everybody's happy. We're dancing. We're into the Sweet 16, 2 upset victories.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. Here it is. Look, I brought it out. Another Jeff Allen artwork special here. So I don't know if he's still making these. These are from last year, I think. So, but yeah, Buddy Boeheim, not just the coach's kid, put up 30 and 25 back-to-back games, kind of moving them through moving them through 2 upset victories.
All right, in full disclosure, I've been a bit of a Buddy Boeheim doubter for most of his time at SU. I have. It never was anything against him. He seems like a great kid, and he does have talent, but it was always
real quickly, do you think he looks like what?
I don't know. What are you going to say?
What's eating Edward? Edward Grape,
Gilbert Grape?
Gilbert Grape Edward version of Leonardo DiCaprio? Kinda.
You're a bad person.
No.
I mean,
I don't think is Leonardo DiCaprio still, right?
That's fair.
I mean, it's not
sort of.
It's not a knock.
Yeah, no, I guess that's
all right, finish
the
your story.
weirdest
I'm
compliment ever. So, anyways, but I'll tell you what, I'm becoming a believer quickly with this tournament, and he does have a knack for showing up big. Like he does, he steps up. And this year in particular, the last 2 games is a level I didn't think he had in him. I really didn't. I didn't think on that stage with that kind of pressure, I didn't think he had that in him. And I'm blown away. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Jim. Jim, like we're on a first name basis. I'm happy for Coach Boeheim, I guess is the way I should have differentiated that. And I'm happy for the town because ultimately, this is a college town. This is an SU basketball above all else because that has been the biggest of the major sports for SU. This has been their winningest team. Obviously, lacrosse is up there, too, with much less of a following, but still a big deal. So, yeah, I think it's great for the town. It's great for the local economy. Well, it would be if we would stop getting such late games or if people were just allowed to, stay at a bar until the end of it and spend more money.
Let the owners kick them out instead of the government.
I mean, that'd be a weird change of pace if we tried that.
And so, there was this sentiment a little bit about the what you were talking about with Buddy Boeheim here that – is he just the coach's kid? Was he supposed to be here? I mean, he does have another son who's not on the team, right? He plays for another university, so it's not like it's just a walk-in. And was the recruiting process probably pretty easy? I'm guessing.
I hope.
Right, but I mean, I think he's a Division I player
for sure.
Like, it's not like he was ever like that kind of in doubt. He's tall. He has some size. He's somewhat athletic. He looks, he moves around the court. Okay, it's not like he's some stiff out there. So he's a player. And when he gets hot, he can shoot over almost anybody because he's so tall. And they just he was on fire. So I think he was like 7 for 10 in the first game and 6 for 13 in the second game. So I mean, 13 3-pointers through 2 rounds.
He's been the difference in the game.
He's been the reason. I mean, Dolezaj has played awesome too. So
sure.
Don't get me wrong. He's not a scoring machine, but he does so many other things that kind of really propels them to win. So, but yeah, Buddy Buckets. That was the thing that was kind of coming over the internet. I guess that was his. I never heard of him until this year, but apparently he's been called Buddy Buckets his whole life.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take anything away from Buddy Boeheim when I say I was a doubter. He's absolutely always has been an NCAA Division I basketball player. There's no doubt about that. It was just
it is easy. It's easy pickings, right? To kind of make fun of the coach's kid.
Obvious. I spent most of my childhood as the coach's kid. All right, so I got it, and it was you get used to it and you take it on the chin. But I always viewed it as okay. He would play somewhere else if he wasn't playing here. I'm not sure he'd play on a better program than here.
Probably.
This is probably and if he did get to Duke or wherever else, he wouldn't be a starter. Like he wouldn't start 3 years. He would have been on the bench or coming off as a 6th man. And listen, I could be wrong.
I mean, some of this has to, again, I don't think this has been the best few years of recruiting here at Syracuse. And so when you don't have those top tier players coming, you take what you can get at this point.
Sure.
And so he's clearly, I think, like I said, I agree with you. He's clearly a Division I player. It's not even a question of that. I know there was some discussion of that, but I don't think that's necessarily true. And listen, he's played hot. Like, so when you make 3-pointers, you get on TV and you make a run in the dance, that's how you get your name out there. So next up for the Orange is the Houston Cougars.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're a 2 seed, so the whole bracket is kind of busted. If you look at the rest of the bracket, we play the winner if Syracuse wins, or whoever wins the Syracuse-Houston game. We'll play the winner of Loyola Chicago, the 8 seed, and Oregon State, the 12 seed.
This is a weird year.
Yeah, so we got a 2, 11, an 8, and a 12. So Syracuse wins. They literally could be the home team if Oregon State wins.
That'd be kind of funny as an 11 seed.
Yeah.
Huh?
And with a chance to play for the Final Four at that point.
Yeah, this is a crazy year for college basketball. There's just no getting around it. But I feel like college basketball has been on this trend as more and more of the truly elite players go straight to the NBA, and even the top tier guys go one and done. that it's. I don't begrudge anybody this. I'm not lamenting it or complaining about it or anything else. It just does have a negative impact on college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, the tournament used to be made up of really good teams. Now the tournament's made up of kind of like a bunch of, you have the seasoned veterans on these middle school, these middle-tiered teams that have played together for 4 or 5 years together. They got, the same starting crew, and they've kind of figured each out, and they know how to win in certain situations, and they can make a run. Or you do get a guy who, they were one and dones. They came and they just carried the team. Though sometimes you get those teams.
For sure.
But you don't have these full, where you had 3 or 4 NBA players on your team, and, you were watching really 2 good teams, which I've mentioned this to you before, is I watch so much NBA basketball that college basketball is just, it's an inferior game, so you have to kind of I have to adjust my mindset when I'm watching it. It's much more about the emotion and the kids and whatnot, so versus how good these guys are, which is what the NBA is. Guys are ridiculous. So,
and it used to be back in the days of the Jordan, Ewing, Bird, Magic, even back there, it was you had at least 3, probably 4 years of these rivalry games going and building, and like Patrick Ewing coming in back into and going to another NCAA championship game, and after the heartbreak of the year before, and all the storylines were so engrossing that you couldn't turn away. And now it's really not, because now it's all right, the best teams are basically comprised of 5 guys who weren't on the team, or 3 guys who were not on the team last year, and 4 of the 5 aren't going to be on the team next year. But they're still amazing to watch. They're fun to watch, but I don't think you get as invested as you once did. It used to be, listen, when I was a kid, I could name every starting player and almost all the bench players on SU basketball. I knew them because they were there for a long time. Now it takes me 2 years to remember somebody's name, and then they're gone. So it's just a different thing. It's not better. It's not worse. It's just
we just cheer for laundry now.
Say again?
We just cheer for the laundry.
Just cheer for that color on the front, buddy. That's it. Let's cheer for the name on the front. And I guess that's what most of us do anyway. But you do become, I think when you can cheer for the team and the individual players, they do sort of, there's an affection that grows.
Yeah, I mean, there's more, you feel more invested. I feel like, I don't know. But yeah. I agree with you.
And it's okay. I get why.
It's just different.
If I was really good at basketball and in this position, I'd probably go to the NBA too. I'll be the first one to tell you.
For sure.
No, I want to go make the money. Let's not be crazy.
Yeah, and people always talk oh, you need to practice. I'm like, that's all they do is practice in the NBA. That's all they do.
That's all they've done since they were 12.
In college, they have to practice and go to school and flirt with girls. In the NBA, and they get to flirt with the girls, they just come at them and they just practice. So if you're good enough and you're talented enough, go to the NBA, you're going to get to practice. More than the only thing you're going to get in the...
Forgive my lack of professionalism. I have to step out because I think the health department's calling me right now.
Okay. Well, that's some priorities here. So we're going to make sure that Charlie's Ice Cream gets off without a hitch here. So let me switch gears a little bit and talk to you guys. We talked about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. I think it was last week. Yeah, last week on the show. So these are tokenized assets. They can be real-life assets. They can be... digital art, a lot of music are being NFTs, which are being digitalized, and what the token allows the asset to have a digital ownership, right? So you can make a single ownership, and so maybe you've heard of John Cleese. We mentioned the digital art that sold for $69 million last week, and the NBA Top Shots cards, the LeBron went for $208,000. There was another thing that went for $6 million. So John Cleese, the English thespian, if you will, the comedian. I don't know. Maybe he's was he a Monty Python guy? I can't remember now. Anyway, so he doodled the London Bridge on his iPad, excuse me, and put that up on the NFT marketplace OpenSea, and it already has a bid of $50,000. So. I don't know. Ben had said we might be at peak capitalism. I don't know if he sold. There was also a fart. Yes, a fart that was sold for $85 that was tokenized. So I think we're to a point where I'm not sure what is going to come next with these non-fungible tokens. But it is quite entertaining to look at these prices. And even I think John Cleese's response to the sale was something to the effect of, the world has lost its bloody Evan mind. So I'm not sure exactly where this is going to go or what's next, but the fact that farts and digital arts on iPads are being sold and bid on for tens of thousands of dollars, well, not the fart, $85, but I don't know. I think we're just into this little bit of a future here that I'm not really sure where it's going to go, but we're going to keep an eye on it here in the show. Oh, hi.
I'm back.
Co-host is back. We just discussed NFTs real quickly here, Mr. Hussong. I mentioned that English comedian John Cleese had sold his iPad art for, well, at least $50,000. That was the bid on it right now, and just that the world is basically coming to peak society here because we sold farts for $85.
Yeah, listen, every time I think I can't like John Cleese more, he does something like this. Really, what are you doing? And it's just kind of, that's who he is. I still don't understand. I shouldn't say I understand. I understand NFTs. I'm just not going to be a participant. It's not something I can get on board
with. What I don't understand is I don't know that I understand it to some degree, but I'm not going to participate, as you say, in the market craze, right? There's it's so frothy right now that like, I don't know what's real and what's not real. And like, if this is all like, maybe a fart is worth $85, you know? I mean,
there's so many jokes to go with that right now, but I'm going to leave it alone.
So I used to work at a sporting goods store.
Sure.
That were named Nameless. And you ever played tennis before?
I mean, in gym class, yes.
Well, so we used to sell these tennis ball savers. They were like little canisters.
Sure.
Where you would like be airtight the tennis balls. I remember one of my managers tokenizing a fart of his own in one of those tennis ball saver canisters and leaving it on the shelf. So gross.
What? It's not even
You're
funny.
Welcome. I know.
Oh my God, we're idiots.
Humans. So anyway, I don't know how much you want to leave. Like, again, I don't know what to do with this NFT thing. We'll keep following it, but like it's every week there's something more and more coming to it. A lot of music's, albums and stuff are using this technology too. So I don't know. I just find it interesting.
Listen, the capitalist in me is kind of like, yeah, go get paid, whatever. If you want to spend the money, spend the money. God love you. It's nothing I'm going to do. Listen, I also don't do any other collectibles. Like, I don't collect anything. I get it. There's value in wine and sports memorabilia and art and cards and whatever else. It's just not my thing. So NFTs are being something that's really intangible.
Eventually, when you're doing finance through, then that's when you'll jump on board.
Yeah, like when it becomes sort of utility over hobby. Is that I guess I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but when it becomes like.
I mean, I can't imagine iPad digital art being anything more than a hobby. Selling it is just, you know what I mean?
I get that. But the technology of the NFT, if there's, you and I talked about this as far as decentralized finance through this technology. Okay, that is intriguing to me. Like, that makes me interested far more than John Cleese doing a doodle on an iPad that he can then print up 5,000 copies for with no problem.
Did you see that?
But
have you seen the doodle?
What?
Have you seen the doodle?
I haven't seen the doodle.
There's like 7 lines.
Obviously.
It's like a stick figure of a bridge.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I'll show it to you after the show.
All right.
I was going to pull it up, but I didn't.
All right, it's okay.
Let's real quickly talk. I'm going to talk a lot about this, but your boy Hunter Biden showed up in the news again this week. My boy. Your boy Hunter Biden and his laptop. It was tried to be claimed. I don't know. There was some report saying that there was proven some Russian meddling in the election, and a bunch of the media decided to just run and leap to that meant that the Hunter Biden laptop was discredited.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, they eventually had to write retractions and a bunch of stuff after that. So
shocking.
They just won't. This Russian thing, the Russian thing's not going to die.
Well, no.
It's literally in the psyche of so many people now that they can just shoot those out every once in a while and be just trigger everybody instantaneously and keep it going.
Yeah, I think that at this point, you're so far down this road. And people cannot look back and admit that they were wrong, that there was no evidence of this. And I get it. There was attempts by the Russian government to interfere with our elections, just like China interferes with our elections, just like we interfere with their elections.
Did you hear that Iran involved with our elections this year in favor of Biden? That didn't get covered.
Shocking.
Just throwing that out there.
But either way, it's this is what goes on. And so you're telling me you'll notice again, let's look at the words they used. It's never that Russia, very seldomly, is it like Russia hacked an election and tried to change votes. It's that Russia tried to influence our election. So what does that mean? Well, if they take out Facebook ads and Facebook groups that are pro or anti one party, that's them influencing our election. How upset do you want me to be about this? I mean, honestly, like they started a protest and a counter protest. I think it was in Texas. Some Russian troll farm group did on social media. And it's like, see, they're influencing the election. And I'm looking going, I guess. But what? Did they change anybody's vote? Like, if you're just buying into
I think I saw something like $100,000 in Facebook ads. It's like, if that's what takes down the country, then we have a...
Yeah, we never had a chance anyway. My favorite of the... All right, so there's two thoughts on this. Number one, how hard do you think Hunter Biden is stifling his laughter when his father is firing people for past marijuana use?
I mean, Joe doesn't even know what happened, so...
Fair. But how hard is Hunter Biden laughing?
Yeah, I mean,
oh, shoot.
Know.
And Kamala Harris, who threw everybody in the state of California in jail and then extended their prison sentences for smoking marijuana. And then, like a year ago, goes on, whose show was she on? Was it on The Breakfast Club?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
And she's like, yeah, I used to smoke weed and listen to all this music and everything else. And you're like, you just, look, I get you got a job to do and you got to throw people in jail. You didn't have to throw the book at everybody for smoking weed. That seems a little excessive, but here we are and now still going with it. So, and that's sort of my first thought. My second thought, tying back into of why the Russia story won't go anywhere also, is did you hear the exchange between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin?
I mean, Biden's pretty macho.
Obviously, a real tough dude. So Biden.
Have you ever met Corn Pop?
I've not met Corn Pop today.
Just saying.
Or the kid that ran his hand up and down Joe's legs in the pool, because that wasn't the weirdest story ever told. But anyways, so Joe Biden called Vladimir Putin a killer. And when asked for comment, Vladimir Putin responded, well, it takes one to know one. You're like, oh, shoot. So we're doing this now. So I get everybody wants to think like America's now widely respected on the international stage because we finally got rid of Donald Trump. And again, if you're a big pro-Trump guy, let me just put the brakes on that too. He sucked also. But the idea that Joe Biden was going to be some savior to save us from all of this, like over the weekend, he managed to essentially isolate us and Russia by saying that guy's a killer. Putin comes back and is like, takes one to know one, and I just wish him nothing but continued good health because obviously he's in really good health. Like very sarcastic, very cutting, and you're like, shoot. And then, I don't remember the guy's name, but he was a diplomat, one of the guys over negotiating with China, who Chinese culture is very big on posture and sort of appearance and saving face.
I would suck over there.
What's that?
My posture's terrible.
Yeah, you wouldn't be very good. But it's something where, like, even when Trump was antagonizing China, he never did it, like, directly to their face in a meeting, and he always left them away to save face and still negotiate. And that was why we were able to negotiate some trade deals with China that were more favorable to America. Biden's, I wish I could remember this guy's name, but whoever the diplomat sent over was, started, like, taking China to task right to the ambassador's face over like, well, you guys are doing all this awful stuff. And the Chinese ambassador's like, you guys are doing awful stuff. Like, you're acting like it's us. Who are you? You're nobody. You're nobody to judge anybody else. And sadly, he's right. But it's I don't want to say it's funny because it's really not funny, but it's kind of funny as you're watching this all happen of like, yeah, did we all just think that magically because we have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that the whole world was just going to be like, hey, guys, whatever you want.
We're back.
You're back. Whatever you want, you just let us know, and we got you.
Yeah, right.
And it's not. Like, we still have done awful things. We continue to do awful things. Joe Biden has been both involved with and profiting from those horrible things for 30 years at least. And the idea that it was all going to change, I mean, that is my point when I say Trump made everybody dumb. The supporters and the detractors, and everybody got dumber as a result of Donald Trump because he made everybody too polarized, and now nobody wants to open up and see the other side of this. It's frustrating.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to more hometown politics. Congressman Tom Reed got himself in a little bit of hot water over this week, last few days anyway. He's been a very outspoken critic of the Governor Cuomo, and has called for his resignation, I believe, and found himself in the same identical bit of hot water. Well, minus.
Oh, did he kill 1,000 senior citizens?
No, not that. Not that hot
the
water.
Other thing.
The back burner. The back burner hot water had just some up to 8 now sexual harassment allegations for the governor. Tom Reed has one, and he has decided that he has thrown his name into the governor's discussion and had I think he may have been hiring staff already thinking that he was going to run for governor in 2022, has now decided that he is not going to run for any office in 2022, which means he will not seek his reelection in his congressional seat if it actually exists in 2022.
More on that in a minute.
Yeah. There's been a trying to compare the two immediately. The Republicans have come out and basically said, see, this is how you do it. This is how you screw up and you save face and you not run for reelection or whatnot. I guess in an attempt to try to compare them with the governor here, who says he's still not resigning no matter what and has not considered resigning.
Because the people elected him, Shawn.
Democracy.
He is standing up for democracy at great expense to his own health and
There was
well-being.
democracy the last 365 days, Ben.
Other states?
Yeah, well, some.
Fair.
So, I don't know. Interesting for New York political landscape here because Tom Reed was kind of, I don't know if he was considered the front runner. But two things, piggybacking on the governor part. So him and Elise Stefanik, who is another congresswoman up North Country here, who is not said no, but has not made any kind of definitive, nods that she's running either. Most people think she would be the favorite if she decided to run within the Republicans, that she would be the favorite to be the nominee. Tom Reed was definitely in that discussion as a nominee and now will no longer be. He was kind of made his name because he was in the Problem Solvers Caucus, too, co-chair of that. So he might have to turn that committee onto himself here. So let's do a little bit of
on Tom Reed.
Yeah.
And again, if you've listened to the show before, this is a refrain we turn to often. Most of these people are not like nice or good people. Like the idea that, hey, how long has Tom Reed been in Congress? Like
since 2010, I believe.
Okay. These people, like, if you think that there's not more allegations out there for half of the people currently serving in government, I'm going to guess you haven't worked too much in local or state government. A lot of and it's not even that they're bad people. That's an oversimplification. But they're nowhere near the image they present themselves to be. They're flawed human beings just like all of us. And a lot of them are egomaniacal and they are power hungry and they do view themselves with an inflated ego. And that leads to this stuff of like, I'm not kidding when I say a lot of these guys tend to look at these women and be like, that's why she's here, because she's attracted to the power. So like she wants it. Like,
no doesn't mean no.
Yeah, like no's the opening offer, and then we negotiate. Like, no, there was all these commercials back in the 90s. Remember, that's where we covered this, and apparently you missed those, and that's okay, but you got to learn the lesson at some point. So I think that I would anticipate you'll see more and more of these things come out. I'm not sure it'll ever get to like what the Me Too movement was a few years ago, where I think we kind of went overboard in the other direction of anytime an allegation comes out, somebody has to resign. Be like, what? Wait, like, well, believe all women. Like, well, that's crazy because some women lie just like some men sexually harass. Like, it doesn't mean all women are all men. It's just like maybe we had to pick and choose based on the verifiable facts and data. Now at least we're doing that.
Also on political party, because sometimes that matters. I mean, depending on who you're saying. It's been known to matter, like somewhat, admittedly.
The
one weird thing about the Tom Reed resignation and not running for re-election in Congress, there's this weird thing. Well, say weird. It's a somewhat sad thing in New York because of our population decline. We are probably going to lose 2 U.S. House seats, and there was talk of. I feel like the Democrats here in the state have control of the redistricting, and so there was talk of basically they were going to pit Tom Reed versus Claudia Tenney versus Elise Stefanik against each other and try to split those 3 things against each other and basically make them running off each other. So this would eliminate one of those things if that does turn out to be true. So just kind of a weird nuance there to the Tom Reed thing. But all right, well. I guess let's move to the
wait. I was told gerrymandering is bad.
It is.
Okay.
I mean, listen, I wish I actually knew the way to do it. Like, if there was some independent, like, benevolent association out there where they just love to draw lines on maps. I mean, got to be the highlight of somebody's day. It's not mine. So I don't know why. I know it's a problem. I don't know what the simple fix is. But if we all know it, we can try to fix it, I guess. But it's clearly been around forever.
Yeah, it's like a fallacy that we could do this in any way that is truly objective.
Right. So
that would be objective and efficient and make sense. And there's just not. Like, it's gerrymandering does happen. I would anticipate that's exactly what's going to happen in New York State. And then I guess we'll see where the cards fall.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Some conflict of interest here coming out of Albany as well. I don't know if you saw the Assembly Majority Leader Carl Heastie has appointed a law firm to investigate the sexual harassment allegations of the governor, or into the governor. The conflict of interest was noted almost immediately. I feel like a bunch of Twitter people started pounding out that the chief judge of the Court of Appeals, Janet DiFiore, is married to Dennis Glazer, I believe his name is, and Dennis Glazer served something like 30 years at this law firm's practicing, he was like a managing litigator or something. So he basically was super involved with this law firm that is now investigating the governor, with the chief judge, his wife, presiding over the case.
You're such a skeptical person. My God.
I mean,
coincidences happen all the time, Shawn.
There's something. I think I saw 182,000 law firms in New York State, Ben. What are the odds that this is the one they pick to investigate?
Oh, 100%. That's the odds. 100%. Because obviously that guy only worked there because he's such a good lawyer, and they are the best law firm in all of the state. And they are the most fair, the most impartial, the most objective, and the most tenacious. And who else would you want investigating Andrew Cuomo than the most fair, objective, competent, and tenacious law firm in the state?
Well, to say the fix is in is probably an understatement. So actually, I think at least one of the alleged victims, or the victims, has said she's not going to participate with the investigation because she knows it's basically a sham.
It's a farce.
There's been a lot of pressure on that selection by Heastie here. I don't know if he's going to change that with this pressure, but
I think if people keep talking about it, it'll force the issue, because this is so... It's just so...
It's so in your face, obviously, like...
Right. Just like, yeah, screw you.
Like, here, just poke you right in the eyeball.
Yeah, and it's because we can, and you're not going to do anything about it, and this is what happens to power-hungry people when they get power. They don't ever go, all right, well, that's enough. Nope, it's got to be more. Now it needs more. Now it needs more, because obviously it leads to problems, but the problems can never be their fault. The problem is they don't have enough power, so they need more, and you're just too stupid to understand it, and you keep getting in the way. So we've got to get these sexual assault and sexual harassment allegations out of the way so that our benevolent leader can continue to rule our lives so that we're happier people. That's how government is supposed to work.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I was Carl Heastie, I'd be like, I'm going to get everything I want and every single bill I want, or I'm going to hold impeachment over your head. Like, I don't know if he has the ability to wield that power. Listen, he might be, as you pointed out, there might be something in his closet too that Governor Cuomo knows full well about, and whatever, who knows? It's Albany. The whole thing.
30 years.
The whole thing needs to be rebooted.
New York was never exactly the cleanest state of politics in the country. It's always been sort of, I shouldn't say always, but my lifetime, it has been pay for play, a lot of underhanded stuff, a lot of backroom dealings, and I don't think it matters as far as party or who's in charge and who's not. You continue to see that, and now insert Andrew Cuomo, who even by standards of a politician is pretty corrupt. I mean, even by the very low standards to which I hold politicians, this dude's amazing. Just how blatant he is and how little he cares about, like, even pretending to cover it up, even pretending to hide it. Like, and how many people willfully just go along with it, of like when he was holding out on the nursing home information, and some of us are screaming like there's no good reason for this. And then a lot of people on the other side are like, well, what does it even matter? What? It matters because we're doing public policy and he's covering this up. This is inaccurate data. And instead we want to argue that it's Trump's fault because he didn't point out that the virus was coming from Europe. What? But did he tell every other state and not New York? Like, how did this work exactly? At some point, own it. And his response, his behavior, his rules have been awful.
He's terrible.
We're gonna feel we're gonna feel consequences from this last year for the next 2 decades. Like, you don't recover from something like this quickly. It's gonna take a very long time, and it's sad. We're losing 2 House seats because so many people moved out. You want to just say that it's because of the weather? Okay,
yeah,
of course it is. Like, take the blinders off. Obviously, the weather plays a role, sure. but it's not the end all be all. And watching these people move out, and we discussed this over summer too, of course they're moving out. What else are they going to do?
Well, we had the same winters, 30 years ago, and they were moving in. So
yeah, and now they're moving out because do you realize how much money we pay in taxes in this state? It's insane. And yeah, I'm like, well, we have better roads. I don't know. I've driven a fair amount of the country. They're pretty comparable to everywhere else. If they're much better, I'm not seeing it. So I have a hard time with this. And now, like, the bigger thing that's going to come, and this is somewhat related to COVID, somewhat related to the handling of the police protests and everything else over summer, you're probably losing a disproportionate amount of rich people right now. Like, and that is going to have huge impacts on our tax revenues. I mean, huge.
Well, the folks who aren't rich or who are they don't have the means to move, so they're pretty much stuck here. So yeah, the people who are leaving are the people who have the means to do so.
Right, and the people that leave are such a disproportionately, I think the stat is something like the top 4% of income earners pay 94% of the tax or something absurd like that. So if you lose these people, that's a bigger deal than if I leave or if you leave. We're not making that kind of money. Right. They are. I mean, when who's the owner of the Carolina Panthers? Sheldon something?
Adelson?
I think it's Sheldon Adelson. So he was a hedge fund guy in New Jersey. When he left the state of New Jersey a few years ago to go buy the Carolina Panthers and move down to Carolina, which he was going to move anyway because he was taking advantage of some tax provisions, New Jersey had to redo its state budget when one guy left. That's how disproportionate the tax revenues are from the top to the bottom. I mean, roughly half of all Americans pay no income tax. That we still bring in kind of a lot of money in income tax revenues, and some of that is tax evasion. Some of that is because of the way our system is set up. But either way, it sort of is a moot point. When the rich people leave and you have a progressive graduated income tax, the rich people leaving has a disproportionately negative effect on state finances than when poor people leave. So that's why Andrew Cuomo was talking about having them over for dinner and bringing them in and doing all this, because if they leave the state, our budget is already awful. I know we pretend like we're balanced and everything else. We're not. Like, the amount of accounting tricks that go on in government is really remarkable, and our state is no exception. So watch what goes on over the next few years and just don't get blindsided by it and think like, well, we never could have seen it coming and it's all the fault of some outside force that just happened. No, the triggering event happens after all the stage has been set. And right now, all we've done is set the stage for really bad stuff to happen at a state and a federal level.
And just for clarity, David Tepper is the owner of the Carolina Panthers.
Is he the hedge fund guy?
Yeah.
Okay, David Tepper.
Yeah. Not the name I knew.
Me neither. I'm surprised by that. I know we talked about this a few months ago. But either way, he left. New Jersey had to redo their state budget.
And so, let's keep going with the how terrible Albany is. So not only...
How long you got?
Yeah, well, 18 more minutes, hopefully.
All right.
So not only is our governor terrible, but his aides, obviously we kind of knew this. So there's an FBI probe. Mm-hmm. They're investigating whether Cuomo and his senior aides provided false information about nursing home deaths to the Department of Justice.
Yes. Next investigation. I mean, what do you say? Of course the answer is yes.
They kind of admitted it, right?
Yes.
Right.
They're on tape.
Listen, I don't know. It says Cuomo and his aides. I'm assuming if this investigation goes anywhere, the aides take the bullet and nothing ever gets to Cuomo for sure. I'm not even sure it ever gets to, somewhere in the Department of Health. I feel like we maybe talk about Linda Lacewell. I think she was the aide who was suspected of being the aide who manipulated or withdrew that data from the Department of Health report here. So, again, more on top of more stuff that's just piling up in Albany. I don't think he's going to resign anymore unless something, there's going to have to be a sexual harassment allegations that includes actual intercourse of some type that is turned out to be, or the claim would be, I did this for the benefit of my job kind of thing. And maybe that does it. But I don't think he's resigning. So I think the impeachment matters. I don't think this investigation from Davis Polk and Wardell is going anywhere because of obvious reasons we just pointed out. So it's gonna require continued push from our state legislature. Right now, it's not happening, and they need to remove that law firm. I think that's a joke, and I think there's been calls to do so, so maybe that'll happen. But it's just another, it's not just the culture is bred from the top, and, all these aides doing all this underhanded actions to kind of cover their asses. Now we got the FBI involved.
So can I tell you what I'm really looking forward to already?
Sure.
Is next year when Cuomo's still in there, and you mentioned this to somebody about how he had this executive order and he had 7 or 8 women all come forward, accuse him of sexual harassment, and now why is it so different? Why does he get the exception, and why is he not being forced to remove office? What's the difference? And I'm really looking forward to the response of, well, that was already investigated and they found that he didn't do anything wrong. I'm already looking forward to hearing that of, like, it's been fully investigated. Right, like, if
reviewed.
You asked...
He wouldn't even say the word investigate right now.
Of course not.
He says it's a review.
This is the equivalent of, like, if you ask me to investigate Shawn, and I come back and say, you know what, son of a gun, cleanest living dude I've ever seen in my entire life. It was thorough. I talked to friends. I talked to family members. I searched his house. I searched his business records. Cleanest dude ever. Follows every government rule. Follows every government regulation to a T. Not even a parking ticket. You're looking at me like...
Kind of like Trump's doctor?
Yeah, like, come on, man. What are you saying? Like, this is the equivalent of Trump's doctor coming out and saying, healthiest guy I've ever seen. And you're all looking at Trump like, this
that
dude.
Guy?
This is the healthiest guy. The guy who lives on McDonald's and Diet Coke. This is the healthiest man you've ever seen. So this is nonsense. Of you have a guy investigating the governor for very serious, very real charges, and the best guy that we could come up with for an objective review in the entire state is a guy that is politically beholden to him and the spouse of the Chief Justice of the Court of Appeals.
I mean, he was appointed, this Dennis Glazer guy, he was appointed the chief counsel of SUNY Purchase. So, like, one of the
state schools.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, what are we doing?
Right. Like, for what?
Like, everybody sees, like I said, it's not just me and you seeing this. Everybody saw it, like, in plain day. It was like, this can't be real, right? Is this a joke?
This is a joke, and this is where I go back to this line. I think about Joseph Goebbels all the time saying the biggest lies are the easiest ones because people just go along because they can't comprehend that you're lying. So I'm watching this and, like, looking at him doing this and then looking back at the population and everybody going, guys, it's fine. What do you mean it's fine? There's no way you would tolerate this from the other side of the aisle. There's no way that Donald Trump could come out and be like, who's going to investigate me is Amy Coney Barrett's husband. That's the guy who's going to investigate. He's going to lead the investigation, and his honor is beyond reproach. Not one of you would be like, well, that seems fair. Good idea. Finally, we'll get to the bottom of the allegations for real this time. You're like, no. How about we get somebody a little further removed from you who didn't just get a lifetime position from you, whose spouse, didn't just get a lifetime position from you. Maybe even if they could be fair and objective, why would we believe that?
Yeah, and people are like, oh, what are you questioning Judge DiFiore's credibility? I'm like, no, but there's a conflict of interest here. Like, clearly there's a conflict of interest.
Yes.
Like, regardless.
No, I am questioning her absolute credibility. If you allow this to happen, I have every reason to question your credibility. And please don't act like I can't. Because here's the simple reality. If you asked me to investigate somebody where my wife was involved, there is a 0% chance of me being objective. 0. And there is a 0% chance of her fairly presiding over a hearing, I'll put it in quotes, where I'm one of the parties. Where I'm representing, there is a 0% chance that she could be objective. Nobody could be. So yes, if the Chief Justice of the Court of Appeals of the state of New York actually goes and looks at all of this and goes, hey guys, I know this looks in the gray area, and I know he's my husband, but my integrity is beyond reproach, and I will be fair and impartial, and I will treat him just like any other litigant, then yes, I absolutely question your credibility. Without a second thought, I doubt it. I beyond question it. Because there is no reasonable person that could be objective in that situation. No one.
All right. I agree. Like I said, hopefully that changes. So I came across, I sent this article to you. I came across an article that kind of broke down some of Cuomo's inner workings here. And that kind of came to light because one of those inner workings, we kind of are familiar with some of the faces. Melissa DeRosa, she is the secretary for the governor. She is the one who gave the statement in the closed door statement to the state Democrats, who basically said we froze. That's Melissa DeRosa. She's the secretary of the governor. But one of his longtime allies, Larry Schwartz, made the news the last few days here because, excuse me, he was appointed as the vaccine czar, right? So he's just out distributing vaccines or allocating vaccine doses to these regional areas and counties and whatnot. He also made a series of phone calls to county leaders asking them where they stood on their support of Governor Cuomo.
Amazing.
So
basically, if I can interject here, he's calling one day to ask you, what do you need for vaccines? And I'll let you know where you fall on the priority list and what we can get you. And then a few days later, he calls back and says, so just out of curiosity, I want to know where you stand on Andrew Cuomo. Are you supporting that fairness be implied and that he be given a fair and impartial hearing, review? Or are you one of these reckless and dangerous people that just wants to throw a man under the bus for political reasons? I'll call you tomorrow about your vaccines.
Right, yeah, and that's the insinuation, right? And obviously they came out and said it had nothing related to it, but how can you not think, like, if you're receiving that phone call, your first thought is, okay, this is the vaccine czar. Like, you're not even the dude has a long history with Cuomo, don't get me wrong, but right now, like, it is the most important function within the state, and he's making these additional calls asking for support. You cannot unmarry the two. Even if he truly was trying to do that, then he's a fool, right?
Imagine you're Ryan McMahon, and you've got all this political pressure on you to get the vaccine.
He did not get a call, by the way.
That's good. Well, imagine that he did. I guess he probably knew it.
I think there was mostly, I read this, so like maybe I'm wrong, but I think I read he said he did not get a call and was not a fan of the way it was called either, so he kind of pushed back on the way that it was handled. But I think most of them, the calls were to Democrat county executives and county leaders.
So, all right, then let's say you're Mark Poloncarz out in Erie County.
Yeah.
All right, so Erie County got hit pretty hard. Everybody's up in arms. People want this vaccine. They want to get it going. You literally get a phone call from this guy. It says, here's how many doses we have. How many do you need? All right, I'm going to allocate this many to you, and you can have them, and then you've got to oversee the distribution. Great, thank you. And then on Wednesday, he calls you back and goes, hey, I got to talk to you about something. You're like, well, is there a problem with the shipment? Like, no, you're getting those. Pretty sure. But just unrelated. So don't, obviously not at all related. Where do you stand on Governor Cuomo's allegations? Are you going to support this governor, or are you going to stand against him? Is it not going to run into your mind, at least, of what this man's actual job is right now, where you're going, I guess I'm going to, I want to see, like, oh, well, maybe we ought to make some kind of a statement to let people know that you're standing behind him and you think he's entitled to a hearing. I don't think I want to do that. Well, it's really a shame because he's been really supportive to you over the last year of giving you whatever you needed as far as doses and everything else, and it's just a shame. I mean, I don't think he's going to threaten to destroy you or anything like he did that guy down in Queens, but or was it Brooklyn? Ron Kim, where's he in?
Brooklyn, I believe.
Brooklyn,
no, I thought he's Queens.
He's Queens, okay. All right, yeah, he's not going to threaten to destroy your career like he did the congressman down in Queens, but I'm sure he's going to be disappointed to hear this. Well, I'll call you next week about what we have available to you for vaccine allocations. How are you interpreting this phone call if you're the county executive? Like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for Poloncarz's, I think he made a comment about this. So I'm trying to see if I could find it real quick.
Like, some things are
he says,
just wrong.
That this is Poloncarz's statement basically on Larry Schwitz's column. He's like, at no time during the conversation did I feel like I was intimidated, nor did Larry ask me to support the governor in exchange for vaccines. In fact, he did not even ask me to support the governor. He knew where I stood. Obviously, that's kind of somewhat irrelevant since he already had his support. But again, it is a problem. Again, it's an additional conflict of interest. So everybody knows this guy is one of Cuomo's biggest allies that he has, and when he calls, he is calling basically as the governor.
Imagine it was Rudy Giuliani calling the governors to say, where do you stand on this Trump impeachment thing? It's like, I know why you're calling, but Rudy Giuliani with an official capacity in the government to distribute vaccines, and he's calling you and asking, all right, Rudy Giuliani is in charge of distributing the vaccines to the states, and then he calls you and says, where do you stand on your support for Donald Trump? To every Republican governor, you're going to be okay with that? That's nuts. You shouldn't be. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll read a quote just backing up everything you've just said. He's like, and it doesn't say who this official is. said, I'm afraid, man. He's like, why in God's name would that man have called? People were terrified. So there was an implicit threat sent regardless of whether or not it was even intended. Like, it was sent regardless.
So here's your options. Is Andrew Cuomo so stupid that he didn't think to the fact of like, hey, if I have the vaccine czar calling people about support for me, they might actually think that I'm implying a threat, and I really want to make sure I don't do that. But he didn't think of any of that because he's so dumb that he just never crossed his mind. Or do you think it's more likely that he knew exactly what the implicit threat would be and what would be implied and why he had him instead of Melissa DeRosa or any of the other aides to the governor who could have made that phone call, whose job it would have been to make that phone call, whose only role was aide to the governor? No, he chose to have the vaccine czar call these people. And you want to look the other way on it, God bless you. But when nobody is listening to you as you complain about Trump's corruption, I just don't want to hear it. Like, if you're willing to turn a blind eye to one side and then you get indignant about the other side, I got nothing for you. I'm sorry. Like, I don't have patience. I don't have time. I don't have the ability to even be empathetic any longer because we're all doing this to each other. Everybody just turns away while these super rich and powerful people play these stupid games, and then we turn on each other instead of looking at them and going, how can you be this corrupt?
And like I said, NPR reported that these people, some of these officials, they have, virtual conference calls, I guess, with the vaccines are occasionally here. And I'm going to read a quote right here. It's like, this is supposedly being told from the aspect of one of the people participating in the conference call with Larry Schwartz, quoting Larry Schwartz. He's like, if I have extra vaccine, if there was extra doses available and executives wanted access to them, send me an email. I'll consider it. Like, that was basically the response to Schwartz. So he clearly was holding the vaccines over the heads of the county leaders, and therefore to make this secondary call, it could not have been any other reason.
No, I mean, listen, I guess it could be, but I mean, I could step out of your house, or I could step out of my house one day and get struck by lightning. Like, it's not impossible. But I'm not going to play those odds to say, like, yeah, I can never leave the house because I might get struck by lightning, because that would be insane. So this is no different, love. Sure, it could all be legitimate and true and not meant to be a threat. But honestly, I think there's a better chance of me stepping out of here today and getting struck by lightning than of that being the case. So it's not impossible, but it's just super unlikely.
Yeah. So we have the vaccine czar, Larry Schwartz, who's making calls and threatening county executives if they don't have their support.
Smart.
We got Melissa DeRosa, the secretary for the governor, who basically told the state Democrats that we froze in fear of a federal investigation. I briefly mentioned Linda Lacewell, who is the Department of Finance Services, the head there. And so she is the one, and I don't think this has been actually proven to be factual yet, but she is the one who is believed to be the aide who removed the nursing home deaths from the Department of Health report, their internal report there. So she, part of the swamp here in Albany, another piece of, did you know that Melissa DeRosa was the chief of staff for Eric Schneiderman?
I didn't know that.
Do you think she's had some stories?
Oh my God, I can't even, I want to talk to her one day.
And so,
off the record, I want to talk to her.
Right.
Nothing on there. I
don't think she's going to come on the show, Ben.
Come on. No.
And so it seems as though he has cultivated his own personal swamp, right? He's been there so long, this is his third term, and he has just, surrounded himself with yes men and yes women who basically look the other way at all regards for their own personal self-interest. So, and there's more. Like, I can go through a whole staff of here. I got more. Some of these people have left. Like his chief counsel left. What's her name? Kumiki Gibson.
She left in protest, though, right?
She left after one of the maybe the second or third sexual harassment, whatever her level is, whatever her threshold is for allegations. And so he has a new acting counsel now, Beth Garvey, I think. So I don't know. Like I said, DeRosa, back to DeRosa, like her dad is like that runs some huge lobbying firm in New York City, Bolton
So
St.
weird.
Jones. Yeah, right. Like I said, all these people are just, connected with lobbying firms, and they all get paid to make stuff get stuff done at the people's worstness, I guess. We're all worse off because of these people and the way they act in Albany.
This trend continues. We're going to get somebody worse than Trump next time. You and I have discussed this at length. Trump was a symptom of a problem, not the problem in and of himself. He was a symptom of a larger underlying problem that not only are we continuing to ignore, we're just pouring gas on the fire. Like, we just keep doing it because so many people have lost faith in the system, and with good reason. This is so utterly contemptible. This is so utterly corrupt and inexcusable that I can't fathom being okay looking the other way. I just can't. Like, I am at a loss for words how any objective person could look at everything we just discussed today and go, you guys are really kind of crazy. Like, you're overreacting. Like, no, I think it's not overreacting to say if we're going to review the governor's behavior, or dare we say even investigate, that maybe we do it from an actual objective party or even an adversarial party. Wouldn't that be a little bit more likely to come up with an outcome that is true? No, we want to do the governor's friend and somebody who is a political benefactor. That's what we want to do. All right, cool. And then you can't figure out why somebody like Donald Trump made it to the presidency. He made it to the presidency because he was a parody of our current political system. He was a walking joke of our political
he was the
system.
parody. Cuomo was the real thing, right? So, like,
right.
Washington and Trump got played up as this, he's a sexual monster, he's, corrupt, it's all these things. And it actually turns out that we actually have this real life existing right here in our little hometown of Albany, New York.
Yeah, they are the same person. They are almost identical human beings. They are egomaniacs. They are absolutely power hungry. And it is you are loyal to them over the party, over the cause, over the ideals. That's what their goal is, for you to have your loyalty to them over anything else. That is unhealthy in a constitutional republic. It's unhealthy in any form of democracy. And it's something that we all should be on the same page for. Listen, me and the average person on the street have far more in common than I have with Donald Trump or Andrew Cuomo. So I will not carry water for either of these two because I find them both to be egomaniacal sociopaths that have no business telling anybody else what to do with their lives. And I'm least of all going to turn and fight with somebody else to defend either of them. I would much rather say, nah, screw them both. You're right. That's it. Like, they are both, and then you always get into like, well, Cuomo's was bad, but Trump's was way worse. Like, how? Honestly, how? You're splitting hairs at best here, and I happen to disagree. I think what Cuomo has done has been worse than what Trump did. Even though I object, that doesn't make what Trump did right. It's at least Trump went through the trouble of trying to hide it a little bit, or was so blatantly obvious that it was just a gray area of staying at Trump properties when they went somewhere. Like, okay, yeah, that's not right. What if the Trump property was giving them such a discount that it was 20% less expensive than anywhere else? Then is it still wrong? I mean, I think so, yes, but it's probably at least a gray area. Right. Like that. And then the same thing when Obama used to go on vacations to Hawaii and the Republicans were all upset. The Democrats were like, no big deal. And then they come out.
Like when the Clintons went on vacation to Epstein Island.
Oh, God. Okay, well, some things are still indefensible regardless of party. But either way, like, you keep going back and forth, and everybody's got this selective outrage, as if Donald Trump or Andrew Cuomo give a single shit about any one of us. As if they wouldn't toss us out a window if they felt like it was better for their own career, and then go home and sleep at night. This is why I don't understand the infighting that goes on, and everybody, like, I get the added privilege of hearing it from both sides about how wrong I am about their party. And I just have to laugh because it's the exact same arguments. And I'm like, look, fine, you had your opinion. God bless you. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to change your mind. You're committed. Yeah. I was there once, and now I've just had my eyes. I've seen too many things. I've seen too much corruption that has become the point of being indefensible. Yeah. So I can't defend either party. I think they're both utterly corrupt, and we have a system in place to keep out anybody else. So the two parties share absolute power. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men, therefore, are typically bad men. We're seeing that live in action in our country, in our state. And it's sad because nobody wants to just accept that and go, yeah, I did vote for a guy who's a piece of garbage. I did, because I thought his policies were a little better than the other guy who is also a piece of garbage. Or I voted third party because both of these guys are pieces of garbage. Even though I knew my candidate wasn't going to win, it was still worth it because I didn't want to vote for either one of them. All of these are acceptable responses.
Yeah. Crazy world.
It's getting crazier.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, I mean, $85 farts. That's
$85,000 doodles from John Cleese.
50,000.
My bad.
That's not stretched.
Oh, sorry. That's reasonable then. Jeez.
All right. So I'm all done here, Mr. Hussong. Would you like to leave the folks with any enlightening news? I do want to let everybody know that I forgot to ask everybody to like, share, and subscribe the show. So if you made it this far, please like, share, and subscribe for the show and share it with all your friends and family. Hit the notification bell, too. You'll get notified when we go live and then post new content. I want to remind everybody that the Syracuse-Houston basketball game will be at 9:55 p.m.
It's a shame for all the bars.
Saturday, March 27th. Maybe we'll get a curfew reprieve before March 27th at 10:55 p.m. because you know that game's going to start later than 10:55.
Of course it is. Oh
so, yeah, we're still working, if you guys don't remember, 11 p.m. curfew, so we get to watch the first half maybe.
Listen, just to add on to that, we have a curfew. That's it. That's crazy.
I know.
God, and again, these poor business owners in this city in particular, because this should be such a big time of year for them. And you got to kick everybody out at 11 p.m. on a Friday or a Saturday. Oh, it's brutal.
I just remembered that I'm bartending a party Saturday night.
Are you?
The birthday party.
Whose birthday? Not mine.
No, not yours.
I thought you said you're bartending my party.
I was just putting the dates together. I'm like, wait, I'm going to be out that day. So, that'll be interesting.
I'm not having a party, so you can't be bartending mine.
Sorry for the extended drivel there at the end. But we will see you all again next Monday. We will have another show for you guys then. I'm sure we'll break down more New York politics, more sports, more March Madness. Hopefully SU is playing in the Final Four. And we'll have something super excited to talk about.
Heck yeah. Let's do this.
On that note,